Hi everybody, my name is Marcos Cassiano, and I'm here to tell you about some of my tales from the road, some of my adventures that happened along the highways and byways of the US and Canada, but never Mexico. So this next little tale takes place in New Jersey. That's where I kind of got my musical start, and one of the first bands that I played with where I was actually making money. And I mentioned them in another video. It was Soul Resurrection +3. Well, on a Saturday, we would sometimes rehearse on a Saturday, and we were in the house. You know, they had an old house we rehearsed in, and literally the house was really rocking and shaking. And behind me there was a huge mirror. And when I would play, sometimes the girl singers, we had 3 girl singers, would stand in front of the mirror so they could see how they look when they were singing. Sometimes they do it with the band. Sometimes they would rehearse on their own when there was no band there. So on this particular day, you know, we're just, you know, jamming away, working on a song. And, you know, you hear that expression, you know, before you know it. And that's what happened to me. Before I knew it, a mirror hit my head. And I really don't remember the mirror hitting my head. It happened so fast. A piece of glass from the mirror, about the size of a piece of pizza, jabbed me right here in the hand. I still have the scar. You can't see it on the camera. And it's split the hand open right here. Blood is gushing everywhere. It got all over my snare drum. I remember it got on my floor tom. And I remember at that point I stood up, and I'm in a daze because I'm trying to figure out, you know, where'd this glass come from, because it just happened so fast, you know. And before I know it, you know, one of the girl singers ran. She got a towel. They were in a panic, you know, because it was a lot of blood. And then the guitar player, his name was Fritz. What a name for a guitar player, Fritz. He took me in his Olds Cutlass, and the Olds Cutlass had a transmission. It had a thing called Super Drive on it, which he was explaining to me as we're going to the hospital. You drop it in Super Drive, and that car really takes off. It seems like we got to the hospital in a flash. Again, it was a Saturday afternoon. There's nobody at the hospital. So the doctor, you know, painstakingly sews up my hand. Now, I'm kind of laughing a little bit because this is my first time where they put, I guess, a Novocaine to numb it. And it was my first experience with that. And when he's working on my hand, I start kind of laughing because it just looked funny because I could see him doing something, but I couldn't feel anything. So to me, it was funny. But anyways, when he got done, he said, "Young man, you were lucky." I mean, what do you mean? He said, if that piece of glass would have just gone just a hair more, he said, it would have cut the tendon on your finger, this finger here, and you probably wouldn't be able to use it. And I'm like, oh no. Well, but everything worked out. I mean, again, I really wasn't in pain because, you know, they numb it and they put the stitches in there. It wasn't a big deal. I remember they took me home, and I guess somebody put up my drums, you know, because I remember the next time I went to rehearse, there was still the blood on there. But anyways, the thing I was most disappointed about was we had a really good gig coming up at Lakehurst, New Jersey. It was a Navy base, and it's where the Hindenburg disaster took place. And so it was like one of those gigs we're playing 5 nights, which we very rarely played 5 nights back then. But I went on the last night, and I had this big bandage on my hand, and I'm just sitting there. I'm just like antsy. Boy, I was just really wanting to play. I was really wanting to play. But there was nothing I could do. I still remember the drummer's name who took my place. His name was Dennis. He had, you know, a really nice set of Ludwig drums back then. Ludwig were real popular, you know. So I remember a couple weeks later, or maybe a month later, we go back to Lakehurst, and this time I get to play. And again, it was a good gig. We would occasionally do military gigs. We played the NCO Club on Fort Dix. We played McGuire Air Force Base. Again, Lakehurst, New Jersey. And I always liked the military gigs. They were just, I don't know, they just were a little bit nicer. Then after that, years later, it seemed like my hand would still hurt from playing. And as a result, you know, I played a lot like this, which is match grip here. And so I basically taught myself how to play traditional grip like this. And when I would play traditional grip, my hand wouldn't hurt. So I had to do that for a while, on and off, for a good number of years. I mean, this happened when I was about 14 or 15, and up to the time I was 18, 19, my hand would still hurt, and thank God it stopped hurting after that time. And it was one of those things that I was able to teach myself how to play traditional grip, and it came in handy because I still was able to play. So anyway, that's it from Tales from the Road. You never know what's going to happen. Thank God everything worked out okay. Stitches came out, hand works, finger works, and 40 some years later I'm still playing, but I always look behind me to make sure there's no mirror. Okay, more later. Thanks for watching. God bless.